Hi everyone, this is Kathy Grosskirth with Bookkeeping Clean and Simple, and this is my third video in the series on undeposited funds and those workflows. And today's workflow is talking about how to actually make the deposits after having gone through the invoicing and receiving the payment processes. And so as you can see, I'm in the Accounting Rescue pseudo company file here. And before I actually get into the content here, I just want to remind you that some of these dates that you see in here are quite old, and that's because this is my test file that I use to test out things and also to do demos from. So in some of these instances, we're going to disregard some of the dates because I know that they go back to 4 years ago. So the dates are not important except for when I point them out. So actually, before we get started with the content, I also wanted to let you know too that the links to the two videos that I did prior to this will be in the description. And also, if you haven't already, I would appreciate if you would like and subscribe to my channel, share it with others, and at the very minimum, click on the notification bell so that way you'll find out when I publish new content. Even though my target audience has been primarily accountant users, I've had a lot of small business owners that are DIYing their books join me, and I welcome anyone who wants to be a part of our family. Now, with that said, we're going to go through the third process after having received the payment, and we're going to go ahead and do what we call is a deposit transaction. And just to recall from some of the videos that we did, when we're using the undeposited funds workflow, which is a temporary holding place for any of those transactions that we've recorded that we have yet to take to the bank and that kind of thing. So let's go ahead and we're going to go to the deposits window, which if you click on this little hamburger button, that will open up that left navigation. Click on the plus new and that will take us to the bank deposit screen. Okay. Remember in our last video, we received a payment against this invoice for Accounting Rescue for $599.97, but we also have a cash payment that we received from Barbara Tarantino that we're going to put with this deposit. So the way that this would normally do in a manual system is you will have filled out the deposit slip and have taken all this to the bank, and then you will have received a receipt saying that you have deposited whatever the amounts that these add up to. So in our instance, we actually went on Friday, the 28th, to the bank, and we took care of depositing these two items, and now we want to put them in here in our QuickBooks file. So I'm going to go ahead and change the date up here to the 28th because that was the actual date of the deposit, and you always want to make sure you match the actual date of the deposit to your deposit slip items and your deposit slip receipt. So we can just click on this box next to where it says received from, and that will check both of those off because both of those items were included in that deposit. And obviously, if you have a long list of items that show up in here, that means you may or may not have all those items that need to be included in this deposit. And if you received any funds from some other place that's not being attached to either an invoice or a sales receipt, you can add those down here, but we don't have any of those items right here. And again, it's always helpful to put in the reference area if this was a cash payment or whatever this was, so that way you'll know. And if you're researching an item, it's always real important to put those items in there. But at any rate, we're going to go ahead and for this deposit, it totals $799.97. And so what I'm going to do down here is I'm going to go ahead and do save and close. And when I do that, that will go away. And you want to make sure you follow through with that process because what usually happens is that when that bank transaction or that deposit comes through, it's going to match up to the deposit that we just entered in here. So that process we won't go through because this is not an actual transaction that will come through the banking center. But that's the importance of doing that deposit part of the workflow. So when that actual deposit hits the bank feed and comes through the banking center, you want to make sure that that's what's going to come through, and it should match to the deposit that we just entered. So next time I'm actually going to go through and talk a little bit more about the sales receipt, since we didn't really touch on that. And that should wrap up our sessions on the undeposited funds workflow. So anyway, I hope you found this helpful. Take care, everyone, and we will see you soon.